This program is made possible by the state's Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
Best steak fair in the country, you know that.
Here's my best friend.
Have a good time. Thank you.
Ever try to explain the Minnesota State Fair to someone who's never been? It's hard, right? It's got a special kind of alchemy where old and new are equally prized. It's traditional and not so traditional. It's agriculture and shopping and food. It's rides and games and more food. It's competitive yet Minnesota nice. It's got nightly music and daily parades.
Welcoming each and every one of you to the Great Minnesota Get-Together.
And on its busiest day, 250,000 people cram into its 320 acres. And even on rainy days, tens of thousands of people still show up. They will not be denied. It's a place where farm and city gladly mingle, where families actually do things together, where grandparents can be seen wearing shorts. And somehow, in a state where people traditionally keep a polite distance from one another, the fair is often a crush of humanity. It's got permanent fairgrounds, but only exists 12 days out of the year. You can go from cattle to skateboarding to fine arts, all for the price of admission. It's a paradox, but usually a fun one. From curds to cows to crop art. You'll hear about them all in State Fair Stories.
Where are the llamas?
Yes, that is a llama dressed up as a bee. Your eyes do not deceive.
Freeborn.
Freeborn County.
Freeborn. Christy, you're second in line.
Welcome to the 4-H Llama Costume Contest. All right, let that sink in. Llamas in costumes with their handler in a coordinating outfit. This is definitely not your grandparents' 4-H.
That is almost by anybody's standards, that'd be new. That only goes back to '08.
Here we go, 2014 costume contest at the Minnesota State Fair.
Nobody is really sure exactly where the whole costume thing started.
It's the best thing at the state fair.
Yep.
But because llamas are such gentle creatures and fun.
Follow the llama sign. Never forget it.
Our show superintendent said that he sure what happened is, I said, let's put a hat on one, and hey, they're okay with it. So then you just start doing more and more things.
We plan our trip every year to the state fair around this event. We each took half a day off work so we could come here.
It's become very quickly a standing room only, you won't believe this till you see it contest.
I didn't get a chance to dress up. I never dressed like this. In this big of a crowd.
And it's not just the llamas that are in costume. The handlers are in costume as well, and they're judged not only on the costume, but how well they work together. And now it's a huge contest that starts the 4-H Llama Show.
Next in the advanced class is Laura, Maney, and Chunky Chicken, Theodore Chunky Chicken from Mower County.
Judge Bill Schultz buckles down. And if you're keeping score, here's a tip. The more the llama is covered, the higher the points.
You're going to place high in the class, but cover more of the face.
We tried to, and
Yeah.
he wouldn't.
No,
he wouldn't
I know.
take it. So.
It's
And we
when
tried.
you get at this level.
Yeah.
Good theme. I like to see a little more blanket over this side. You know, but otherwise you got a lot of coverage. I like this too. Okay, you can go up into this place.
Thank you.
It's not a final yet, so just hold your breath.
He wants to give them blue ribbons.
They can all have boots. Onward, here we go. The 2014 Grand Champion from Mower County is Laura Maney and Theodore Chunky Chicken.
Yes, this is 4-H. And no, it's not the 4-H of yore. The head, heart, hands, health haven't gone anywhere, but they've broadened to attract kids who may not live on farms, which is not to say that 4-H Classic has disappeared. No, sir.
This is Lucy, and this is Mick.
Goats, pigs, and cattle abound, and the State Fair is one of the very best places to see livestock in action for both fairgoers and 4-H'ers.
Their farm is the one that beat Brooks when I brought her here. Do you remember that? Yeah. I like to kind of look around and see what other people have, you know. That one was in her class last year. Let's see. I was scouting out my competition yesterday, and it's fun to do because I know what to look for, and it's kind of exciting to see how you'll place them. The yearling that I have here at the State Fair, she is a crossbred, which means that her mother is a brown Swiss and her father is a Holstein. Hey Katie, how are you doing? Good. I had another nice looking brown Swiss that I could have taken, but I'm a little partial to Penny. I took her up here last year as a calf, and now she's here as a yearling, so she's very nice looking, and I'm also a little bit sentimental. So one of the things you'll see us doing is getting her hair to stand on top. This is called giving her a top line. The idea is to get the hair to stand up so she looks a little bit taller, and it mostly just makes her look a little bit fancier. Penny is named after the song Penny Lane, which also happens to be my last name. So she's Penny Lane, and I like to sing Beatles songs to Penny. Penny Lane, there is a barber showing photographs. I never had the pleasure to know. In general, you can refer to a female who has not had a calf as a heifer, and then a cow is one who has had a calf, and she's usually older than 2. On a cow, the most important thing is her udder, and that's scored the highest. You want her udder to be nice and strongly attached, and also to have a lot of capacity to her. The strong attachments are a good indication that she'll have a healthy life with her udder kept high above the ground, so it's not getting dirty ever.
So she hasn't had a baby yet, so the udder has no bearing on it whatsoever.
That's right. The udder doesn't factor into it because she hasn't had a calf yet. The other categories they're judged in is an emphasis is put on the feet and legs because that also indicates longevity, and then there's also frame is also a factor into it. So this is my favorite part. We make the tails nice and poofy. She's got a really long curly one, which I kind of love. I'm just gonna make it poofier. I don't know. They're not judged on the poofiest of their tail, it just kind of makes them look more feminine.
Did you grow up on a farm?
My house is on 2 acres, so we don't have a farm. It's just kind of your standard suburban house. My sister's best friend owns this farm, and so when I started taking along with her because I saw them showing 4-H and wanted to get involved. I talked about these 2 a lot, so you should meet them. This is Emily and this is Sam. So it's Sam's cow that I show, and she's Emily's best friend. And so, yeah, this is how I got started with showing. They're supposed to start the crossbreds at 11:45, so she'll probably go around 12:15, which is perfect. I need to get her some water. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, then. You know where we are.
Sounds good.
Come in to the right.
Okay, Mom.
All right.
Bye. Before I show, I sometimes get the butterflies. You know, I've been practicing with Penny for a while, and I have done a lot of attention to make sure that she looks her best so I can feel confident in it. But there's nothing like getting in there and just kind of that excitement to know that what you've been working for is finally here and seeing how that goes out. Yeah, crossbred.
County, and 3rd with a purple as well, Abigail Klein.
Hey, baby. Hey, baby. We'll start out by kind of parading around the ring in the circle. And then at some point, the judge will say, I like yours, and he'll kind of have them go into a line.
What breed is your heifer?
Brown Swiss Holstein Cross.
And when is she born?
October 11th. Yeah. Then he'll look at them all kind of lined up and compare them. Depending on how confident he is, he may just leave them how he did it the first way, or he may ask them to circle again so we can get a second look at some of them. And he'll be looking for those things I mentioned, for the shape of her body, how good her feet and legs are, things like that, bone structure, judge her based on how she looks.
Make her a little longer throughout the neck. This heifer, I do like the way that she blends from part to part. She's not as full here, she's not here, or as tight at the point of the elbow, but she's very nice.
hopefully I'll get a good ribbon and take my picture with my mom, and it'll be a lot of fun.
In second place, also with a blue ribbon from Dakota County, is Audrey Lane.
You love the blending of parts in our second place heifer, the tightness at the point of elbow, fuller in those crops.
It's quite the way to end my judging career for 4-H, you know? Thank you.
When you think cows, what do you think? Milk, right? But also butter.
This is the celebrity butter carving contest, so, well, hey, you know, maybe that'll be a nice Friday night date night activity for you and Frank.
Yeah, you know what? He made me practice. He is dead serious about this competition. Okay? I'm telling you right now, he is serious about it.
I do know Minnesota and butter sculpting, the whole process. Goes back to the late 1800s, and that was a feature of the fairs here. It was resurrected in 1965 with carving the likenesses of Princess Kay and the dairy princesses from throughout Minnesota.
Are you the Princess Kay?
I am.
I've never met the real thing.
Well, here it is.
Now, some might call it kitsch, but how many people do you know who would sit in a 40-degree refrigerated case all day just to be cute and quirky? Yep, I thought so.
Hi there, everybody, and welcome to the Dairy Building. My name is Jenny Taylor, and I'm the 61st Princess Kay of the Milky Way.
Make no mistake, these young women are dedicated.
Do you guys have any questions over here?
I have a question. This is Annie.
Hi, Annie.
How many interviews have you done today so far?
I would say about 10.
And got up at 3:30 this morning to get ready for interviews.
Princess Kay was started by, it's now called the Midwest Dairy Association. It's a group of dairy farmers literally throughout the Midwest.
And the goal? To promote all things dairy. Longtime fairgoers know that Linda Christensen has been sculpting all the dairy princesses for decades.
It's not what I planned to do when I went to art school, but the year that I graduated, someone called from the Dairy Association and asked the college that I was going to, the Minneapolis College of Art and Design, if they could recommend someone. And I was probably one of the few people that was working from the human figure, so they sent me over. And that was 43 years ago, and here I am, still at it.
Each day of the fair, a new dairy princess takes a turn in the booth. Several hours later, a 90-pound block of butter morphs into a head. By fair's end, that is a half-ton of butter. Today, our 4-H'er, Audrey Lane, is in the booth. Audrey doesn't just raise heifers. She's a dairy princess, too.
What the heck would you do with all that butter? My goodness.
Try to chunk out for Thanksgiving.
Audrey, can I please take your head home with me to Morris and eat it?
Well, hello, Emily. For all of you who don't know, the lady who just asked the last question is my older sister, Emily. No, you may not take my head home right now. I'm really excited to have my head on display when we have people come tour the Zwaber farm. It's really incredible. I always notice that I've kind of got a dip in my nose here, and right there is the dip in my nose, and you know, the chin's the exact same shape, and I'm really impressed by it.
One of the joys of the fair is the intersection of city and country. Now, there aren't too many places in this world where you'll get urban, suburban, and rural all mashed together on one relatively small chunk of land, all at the same time. Hey, it's not called the Great Minnesota Get-Together for nothing. Back in the day, farm families came to the fair for the competition. A prize-winning cow could mean prestige and increased income. They also came to shop for crop seed and farm implements. Now, city folks came for the shows, the rides, and to gawk at the animals. Well, I guess some things haven't changed. But over the decades, as the agricultural population has declined and the suburbs have moved farther and farther into former farmlands, the distinctions between city and country are less pronounced.
You know, if you want your past perfectly preserved, then you shouldn't really come here. It's nice that there's a lot familiar at the fair, a lot of the architecture, the buildings, you know where to find the barns and the animals, you know where to get all this stuff done. But it needs to change and evolve and improve, and we work really hard at doing that, and I think we've been doing okay.
If you've been coming to the fair for decades, you know one of the biggest changes has been to Machinery Hill.
Arrayed across its 80 acres are the implements of raw power and efficiency which help make American agriculture, Minnesota agriculture, what they are today, the most efficient and productive in the world. Here the farmer comes with keen eye and careful pocketbook to judge these new machines and compare the products of the nation's top manufacturers.
Look at, there's even like coasters and stuff. Right. And you can charge your tablet.
A number of years ago with Machinery Hill, which is what we still call this was nothing but farm machinery.
Don, please send to the office, please. Don, send to the office.
The ag economy changed and the manufacture of ag implements changed, where they no longer make them and set them off to distributors for sale. Now they're made to order, which means you don't really need to bring them out and put them on display anywhere. Plus, it's less than 2% of the population now actually lives on farms and has need of equipment, so most of the people here aren't really their audience. We've gone from displaying agriculture that everybody knew all about to now we have to educate about agriculture because nobody knows about it.
The change has also been felt in the Future Farmers of America Tractor Safety Contest. It used to be given pride of place on Machinery Hill, but is now tucked away behind the forage barn on the western edge of the fair.
Basically, the same contest was run for over 50 years. The same course. And back when I was in it, there was 150 contestants. And it was a 2-day event. And we ran like 3 different courses at the same time.
This part of the contest is all about navigating a 2-wheel drive tractor with a trailer through a tricky course that's meant to be like a farmyard. Oh, and you're timed, too.
Well, this is something that they've been doing for years on their own farm, so it's just applied and actually having a contest based on that. Well, good luck.
Thank you. It's for safety too. Farming is a very dangerous occupation, and whatever we can do to promote safety, that's
why for something like if they don't put on the seatbelt, that's why it's 50 points given to them, because similar to golf, we're going lower score, and if they get 50 points for not having their seatbelt on, well, that's minimal compared to what life could happen if they get in an accident when they're driving a tractor. So,
perfect run.
Woohoo! Nice job. Your turn. The golf ball's 50.
And if they actually bend the stake, then it's 100.
At the end, some people forget to put it in park. So they just walk away. And if you think about that on the farm, how often are you going to be on a straight ground?
It's not going to roll. So
well, yeah, exactly. So I think that's what, 50 points? Or 100?
Yeah, 100 points.
100 points.
Well, and how close do you have to come to these poles here? Like, what's the
within 2 inches.
Oh.
That's considered a shed. So if you're backing into the shed, backing into the sidewall.
You're gonna be sad.
All right. All right.
What did I get for a time?
207.
207. All right.
327. He's talking about the points.
We're just gonna keep this going for how many years?
Yeah.
Hope springs eternal. With the void left by the disappearing farm implements, something needed to be done with the Machinery Hill portion of the 320-acre fairgrounds.
When we started working on moving attractions up here and doing other things, this place is so big you got to have some transportation systems. So the Sky Glider's been here now, it's about a dozen years, and it's made a big difference.
Remember that only 2 adults are allowed in a chair.
You could tell the first couple of years after we put it in, people would ride it and get off and wonder where they were. Are you still on the fairgrounds? Why, yes, you are. It's just you're on a different part.
So to your left for me, you guys have a beautiful day.
This part of the grounds, it has a completely different feel, at least for me.
We're going to have an oldie but goodie. You are my sunshine. 5, 4,
You know the phrase, don't make a spectacle of yourself? Yeah, well, that's one the fair never embraced. The Minnesota State Fair was famous for its spectacles.
Going back into the late 1800s, there were night shows at the Grandstand, big spectacles with fireworks and sham battles. They actually had veterans of the Civil War participate in a reenactment of Gettysburg and burning of Manila and the last days of Pompeii. There's a theme here with all the explosions and fireworks and everything else.
Perhaps the most spectacular of the spectacles was crashing two locomotives into each other. Yes, back in 1933, they really did that. Alas, the shenanigans of the spectacles died out decades ago. The Grandstand's real job, when it was built, was for horse racing, but auto racing ended up ruling the roost for about 80 years. The original dirt track was paved in the 60s, but 40 years of weather and fast tires took their toll.
We had a NASCAR consultant come in around 2000, 2001, and because of the age of the facility, the safety systems, the lack of things like a wall to keep cars in should they trying to jump the track, that kind of thing, we would have needed to rebuild everything. It would have been about $15 million at that time.
Which meant 2002 was the last time a race was run. In 1992, you can see that the fair was a much whiter place. In the early days of the fair, the racial divide was much as it was around the rest of the country. Indians were on display as an exhibition to gawk at, along with a precious few people of color visiting the fairgrounds. But you may be surprised to learn that there have been vendors of color at the fair for quite some time. For a decade, right around World War I, Mrs. Celestis Phelps, the African-American proprietor of the Phelps Hotel and Cafe in Minneapolis, ran the Old Boy Chicken Shack. Her booth was tucked under the old horticulture building, near where the go-karts are now. The 40s featured the Governor's Interracial Commission, yet it remained largely a white place. In the middle of the last century, in Minnesota, diversity meant city versus country, Lutheran versus Catholic, Swedes versus non-Swedes. Not to put too fine a point on it, but racial diversity was hard to come by. In this day and age, the fair is far more varied.
Oh, it's so cute.
Especially if you come after work hours.
And you leave your little corner of the world, you realize it's a real big place.
I just want to explore the fair. It's a lot to take in.
It's probably like, okay, let's go.
Good, okay, good.
If you're coming to the fair and you don't have at least one morsel of food, well, you're definitely one of the few. And it doesn't have to be on a stick to count, don't you know?
You don't want to diet during the state fair. You diet the week before so that those fried pickles won't, you won't have this horrible guilt. Oh, it's fantastic.
My favorite food is, well, I just tried alligator today, but my favorite food is for sure pronto pups. That was the first place I went.
Hey, what's your favorite fair food?
Hero. What can I get for you? 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Thank you.
Quesadillas from Quesadilla Junction.
Footlong by the Coliseum.
Always the Coliseum.
It's got to be by the Coliseum.
Yep.
Papa.
Lots of ketchup.
My favorite food is cheese curds. I just like them so much, and the state fair is the best place to get them because they're the hottest at the state fair because they're selling so many. Oh boy.
Okay, thank you.
All right, favorite food at the fair?
Probably Sweet Martha's cookies.
Grilled turkey and cheese.
I like the French fries.
Order up, Lori!
I like the $1 milk for sure.
I love Sweet Martha's cookies and cheese on stick.
I think if I had to choose my favorite fair food, it would have to be cheese curds. It's usually what I start with. That's what I started with at about 9 a.m. this morning. Yep. So.
Behold, cheese curds as the great fair unifier.
No ketchup.
All natural.
Great. It kills the taste.
Straight on.
They are so great. Delicioso. Makes me want to raise one of my eyebrows if I could when I'm eating them, you know, like I can't do it though. They're not good. I'm getting 2 of them. I'm getting 2 cheese curds. So they so good. Yeah, I eat them and then my husband, he gets some too. That's Ralph. That's Wendy. I'm Stacy. This is gonna be my 4th bundle. I drove an hour and a half to come get some cheese curds, so I better get me some cheese curds. I'm just saying. Can I get 2, please? Can I get 2? Plain. Just regular cheese curds. Honey, show them the cheese curds. Yeah, just like that. And then we call it a happy life. Bye. Thank you.
And you go to the milk stand, remember the milk stand? They have the ice cold milk. I mean, that milk was really cold. So you get your Sweet Martha's cookies, you go over there and stand and get your milk. The only problem now, if the weather didn't permit, if it was a horrible day, humans stink when we all get wet. And that was a bad thing. If that happened, you waiting for cookies with milk stand with all them stinky people. That's
Please
bad.
edit that.
Don't edit. Y'all need to. That's the truth about the state fair when it gets wet.
Really bad is we were listening.
I was just trying to figure out where it was going.
White.
Wipe out for you.
Name of the booth is Sweet Martha's Cookie Jar.
It's the corn roast. We opened in 1985, which started out very slow. The first couple of years, we were wondering if we got into the right thing, but things have really turned out to be fantastic.
It so happens our fair is a food-eating fair, in case you haven't noticed. We're actually producing 24,000 cookies in 12 minutes.
So how hard was it to get into the fair?
It took me 5 years to be approved to get in. And I used to work at the fair. I worked for the sanitation department. I've been working the fair since '67. So I knew the ins and outs, and it still took 5 years to get in. And they weren't sure corn would sell at the fair.
Seriously?
Yes, yeah. And I have that problem in Iowa.
Seriously?
They don't think corn will sell in Iowa. And it's Iowa. So.
You sell corn around the country, yes?
This is the only place I do sweet corn. We do cheese curds at 35 different events. But this is the first thing I did, and it's my love, so yeah.
Luckily, there was a cancellation at the last moment in 1979, and we were accepted. We were so fortunate to be able to get in. And as you well know, as we're walking around this fairgrounds, that's all we're looking for is what other people are eating. Oh, look, we could have that, we could have that, we could have that. So we thought we better get something that people did not tuck away in their purse or pocket. We started out in a very small stand, 9 by 11, up by the food building.
You know, they offered me a couple spots, but they were just small. I said, that won't work. This building became available, and the timing was right, and the location's fantastic. And backyard that we could expand into, and everything, it's just been perfect.
We've actually shifted and moved around about 6 times here at this great Minnesota get-together. The fair granted us permission to build our own stand, so we're able to put in that building a couple big 120-quart mixers. 4 of our depositors, Cookie Kings, and 6 of these rack ovens.
Hot and ready. But tell me what the process is from start to finish.
The actual starting's happening right now in the farmer's field. They're picking the corn that they'll deliver us at 11 o'clock tonight. We'll get 300 to 400 bags a night. And these kids, after they're done working all day long, go up there and you got to pull it out of this truck, walking down the hill into the next truck, back and get another bag. And we put it in a refrigerated box and hold it overnight, and then we soak it in water in the morning, and then we put it on these racks, and start the roasting process. It takes about a half hour to roast it. Silk and everything gets cooked in it. And they husk it and dip it in the butter, and off it goes.
I'll take that burnt one right there.
Yeah, so much better that way.
We always have a dance right after the fireworks. The kids get up on the roaster, we make a dock, and then they have a dance, and that draws people over here.
Well, we have delivery in the middle of the night, every night, and each stand gets at least 9 pallets of ingredients, which includes your flour, sugars, chips, and shortening and things like that. I mean, there are people that don't realize that we're making the cookies, so the fact that we're actually making them from scratch and all these steps involved is quite different than a number of the products where it's quite simple.
I think a full crew is about 70 people at one time.
It's usually around 400 for the 12 days. So we start scheduling like in February, March. We get letters of interest from people.
And my daughters all work for me. They help. One daughter does all the hiring and scheduling for me all summer.
You gotta get your hot delicious fresh sweet corn.
And all the people that work for us are either family or friends of friends. They all have to be referred.
We go through 45 to 50 cases of water here just to keep the kids hydrated. And they're young, they got a lot of ambition, a lot of spunk. And they're the coal miners of the fair. When they leave, they're black and sooty, and people know where they came from.
We think we make about an average of about 1 million cookies a day during the fair. Like my grandfather said, you have to have a system.
$6. Thank you guys.
Best days, we get in that 20,000 range, on a big weekend. Our best fair ever was right around 200,000. That was a few years ago. We had a beautiful week of weather.
Of course, you've heard the rumor many a time that you can work the 2 weeks of the fair and earn a living for the rest of the year.
Sure. And to that question, I tell people, depends what lifestyle you want, number one. It is possible, I'm sure, that you could. But if I could do that, I wouldn't be doing 35 other fairs. Give up my whole summer, basically.
We've certainly obtained that now. We've been here for 36 years, and we've, haven't missed a day of the fair in 36 years.
So, is the Sweet Martha's chocolate chip cookie recipe a secret?
It certainly is.
You're not going to tell me what the recipe is?
No, I am not.
There's corn for eating, and then there's corn for the eye. Yes, friends, it's crop art. Long dominated by the late, great Lilian Colton, who specialized in celebrities, well-known personalities, and animals.
So you really do that one seed at a time?
For most of them, except the very fine seeds. And then you can pour on small sections and press it down.
It's been considered a traditional farmish craft for eons. But like the fair, the crop art contest has evolved, yet stayed the same. There are still famous people, sure, but in today's world, where authenticity and handicrafts are hipster pursuits, crop art takes on more of a political cast or a celebration of a more literary nature. It is perhaps the fair's best melding of the farm with the city.
Every year to see crop art for sure. This is my second day here. We always come at least a couple times. I like the Frida one. I think that one's really great.
Different kind of mystery seed. Yeah, he looks really happy. No, I don't know how they do it. Me. I don't have the patience to just like sit there and be like, right? That's really good.
One of the things that's so badass about our fair is that there are crowds for the crop art, and then there are crowds for the fine art. Art has always been a part of the fair since the beginning. If you were lucky enough to be around in the 40s and 50s, you could have seen Picasso, Matisse, or Winslow Homer.
Let's go.
Alas, as far as we know, no one got to see them work. That's not the case now.
The kind of concept that I'm going with is a theme of twin sisters as applied to what we know of the Twin Cities, which is usually a couple baseball players, funny looking with little hats on. We're kind of switching gender here and doing something elegant. If you can imagine maybe a water element that went from hand, Minneapolis, to hand, St. Paul, flowing down to a base. That's kind of the gesture that I'm working toward right now.
Normally, how long would it take?
If I were going to cast it in bronze, the entire process would be about 6 months or more.
It's not your typical gallery crowd, that's for sure. You know, in a typical year, anywhere from 250,000 to 300,000 or more people will go through the Fine Arts Building, and there's a much bigger crowd, a much more diverse group of people here, and for a lot of people, this is where they'll see art, and this is kind of it.
In case you haven't noticed, competition is one of the cornerstones of the fair. There are a lot of purple, blue, red, and white ribbons on all kinds of things. Oh, just FYI, a purple ribbon, purple, is the highest honor. For a group of people who pride ourselves on being nice, we have certainly elevated judging to a fine art at the fair. Everything is judged. Heck, there are entire buildings dedicated to judging.
We're opening early.
Good. Wow. Thank you.
Take, for instance, the Creative Activities Building. About a week before the fair officially starts, on a sultry summer morning, people line up after hot days spent with a hot oven to submit their baked goods for judging. More judging!
Blueberry bread, carrot cake bread, and some chocolate chunk pecan cookies.
Right, if you want to come right in the corner there.
I'm not losing this year on a technicality. I'm telling you, that risotto is good enough to win, and it better. Have a good day.
Yep, competitive and Minnesota nice. Of course, food judging is barely the tip of the proverbial iceberg. Quilts, porcelain, hand-spun yarns, guitars, clothing, crochet, soft sculpture. Let's just pause to admire the creative displays. Okay, back to business. Not only do all of these goodies make beautiful displays, but they're also all judged. Now, if you're lucky, you can get some tips from one of the regulars.
I always tell people that you compete at the state fair for fame and glory, not for money. A first place ribbon in the jams and jellies is worth $12. I always feel like if I come home with a check, it still isn't going to cover my gas coming to and from, or certainly it's not going to cover the cost of my sugar.
It's funny how you recognize the names year after year.
I don't have too many secrets, but you want a secret? I'll give you a secret. You won't find anybody official recommending it, but I wash my pickles in my washing machine. It works.
When I learned how to pickle, we also learned how to make salsa. Have to cook it down a little bit.
Yes.
And then all the jars, they have to be hot and sterilized.
You can kill somebody if you improperly can a low-acid vegetable, the green beans, the corn, the peas. Tomatoes are now considered a borderline product. So they must be acidified before they go into the jar. That open kettle canning thing is no longer recommended.
This is how I've done my tomatoes, and I've been doing them like this for a while. I boil my tomatoes, basically, cooking it, boiling it all. Then that gets poured off into my sterilized jars, cap them, boil the jars boil them like that for another 15 minutes or so, and everything seals tight. And
it's not just a matter of the seal, though.
Right. but I haven't killed anybody yet. I'm thinking, what am I going to do?
This is excellent, because do you know what the operative word in that sentence is? Yet.
Who knew that kind of danger lurked in the creative activities building? Now, if your timing is right, you don't have to settle for merely admiring the goods. You can indulge in some real live judging. And what could be more Minnesotan than judging the amazing versatility of Spam?
I did look at you. Yes. And Pillsbury too. Another one. Taste. Texture. It's a different shape. Maybe 32 or so. Okay.
We're here to watch these ladies taste my pierogi, my Spam pierogi.
Meat container. Here, you can take this.
Oh, that's right.
That's the holder. So what is this? Is Spam? This is Spam, huh? No, that's clever. It's a nice touch on the top. So it is. It's wonderful.
I entered, are you ready for this? Spamoliki tomatiki soup.
And then you shove it on the strips and sear in the same way.
Did you actually watch the judging of your piece?
You know, there was a large crowd of people in front, so I knew they were eating it, and they looked happy, but I couldn't see what was going on.
So we've got leeks and tomatillos and Spam and white wine. So the Spam, at least, Spam is visible. Yeah. I've never thought about that. So you just, this is a keeper. Yeah, where's the Spam? They must be very small pieces. This is not a keeper.
And the winner of the Minnesota State Fair Great American Spam Championship with her Spamoliki Tomatiki soup is Kathy Lato.
I'm so happy, I'm crying. Daddy's gonna be so happy.
I know, he'll be so proud. So will Grandma.
Now just suppose, after seeing all the inspiring food, you get an itch to make some of your own. Okay, stick with me here. You can fulfill your culinary desires by hitting up the product booths scattered about the fair. Now mind you, there's a bit of controversy over what to call the people selling the products. Demonstrator? Pitcher?
I'm a pitchman. My sister overselling the stretch legs is a pitch woman.
If you put it on an apple, it's going to look like an apple.
My brother overselling the ratchet pruners and loppers, he's a pitchman.
Now that we got that out of the way, Billy Newcomb has been pitching goods for better than 40 years. His family's company, Syndicate Sales, has been at the fair for over 80 years.
My father, back in the 30s, sold a 4-piece kitchen gadget that consisted of a small Feemster slicer that the ladies loved for their bread and butter pickles and refrigerator pickles, to a small peeler, a paring knife, and a little juicer made of tin that you put in a citrus. He sold the 4 pieces for $2. To be honest with you, my father knew what a hard grind this was and really didn't want any of us to have anything to do with the business. When he saw the interest I had back in the late 60s, early 70s, then he said, well, by golly, let me show you how to do this right.
How many of you out there like salsa? All right, watch this. You'll never buy that junk in the jar again after you've been spoiled with my fresh pico de gallo. Here's what makes it good. If I put in 1/3 of a jalapeno, it's medium. A 1/2 one, it's hotter than the dickens.
I have a whole barrage of jokes that are so silly and corny that people love them. You bet.
But company you don't like, put in 2. Relatives are 3 and in-laws are 4. My mother-in-law, 5 of them rascals. You bet. That's not nice. I like my mother-in-law. I really do. It's her daughter I can't stand. Now watch this. I'm going to put in about 1 inch so I don't burn you up. Is that fair enough?
I'm on the grounds every morning at 6:30, running stock, doing chores, The building closes at 9, and I'm lucky if I'm home by 10:30. We're grabbing about 5 hours of sleep.
The electric food processors, as a rule, the RPM is so high, you know what that salsa is going to turn into? Exactly, mush. You better believe it. Boy, does this son of a gun make some gorgeous pico de gallo. I'm not kidding you. Now, if I stop right now, okay, here's your thick and chunky. Absolutely, isn't that beautiful?
This is truly a salesman's heaven. For us to get this many people in our little storefront in Hopkins would take 7 years.
How many of you out there put up pickles, thin sliced onion, zucchini? Started out by hand, but when your fingers get close to the blade, have common sense and use a finger saver.
Back in the 70s, when I first started doing this full time, getting on what we call the box, which is a stage, the ladies is who we work to, because by golly, and boy have times changed, I have 4 grown daughters, the women did everything in the house. Now, more men are cooking than ever before.
You want to hear the best sales pitch I can give on this chopper? I have a good sized crowd here. How many of you out there own one? Hold your hands up. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. How do you like it, sir?
Love it.
Would you recommend it to people?
Absolutely.
That's a better sales pitch than I can give. Watch this.
I pride myself at the end of the demonstration of being honest and delivering a good close and selling product. I enjoy making a living like this.
I've only got 36,000 of these things left. And when they're gone, they're gone. Here's the best sales pitch I can give.
You say that kind of pitching doesn't work for you. Well, how about this?
Hey, it's a beautiful day for a fair. Walk on over and get your choice souvenir. Oh, and he can at all. There it is. Oh, I thought you had it.
Okay, we would be remiss to leave out the Midway. Fools, too, because it is stinking fun. The State Fair Midway is our Las Vegas.
There was a time in the 20s and 30s where the Midway was considered this really racy place. And, well, they were dirty. That was Club Lido. That was the girly shows. Oh, yeah.
It's a place to let your wild side out. Always has been, always will be, even if it's got a bit tamer over the decades. The freak shows went out years ago.
I think what happened with those shows is what should have happened. And I think we're all much better for it.
Once again, the fair adapting to changing times. So if the cheese curds are the great unifier of the fair, then the Midway is the great socializer.
Zoom in! Hey!
All righty, ladies and gentlemen, last call for the water gun race. Eyes on your targets, fingers on your triggers, and at the sound of the bell, let's race. Watch and race, watch and taste. Don't be shy, give it a try, ladies and gentlemen. If you enjoy prizes, this is the game for you. No doubt about it. Step right up, step right up. It's only 4 tickets to play, 4 tickets to win. Winner number 4, you guys were so close. All right, buddy, here's your first win. Your second win is any prize in the game. One more.
There's no place quite like the Minnesota State Fair. It's a remarkable thing. Sure, Texas boasts greater attendance, but only because their fair lasts a full month. Per day, no one has more fairgoers than we do. And it's hard to imagine that any state enjoys its fair more than Minnesota.
Minnesota State Fair!
You want a real feeling about what a grand community celebration is, you know, and done in an environment like this. This is where need to go.
And go we do. We always count with pride how much food we eat each day at the fair, especially if it's on a stick. Our garages and barns are filled with yardsticks and rulers picked up for free over years at the fair. Our kitchen cabinets are chock full of empty Sweet Martha's cookie buckets. They're great for leftovers.
Yes, I'm gonna go home and eat them all.
We like how our fair is somehow always the same, yet always changing.
I do think a lot about what our predecessors would think if they saw the fair now. And I hope they'd be proud of what they see, just like I know I'll be proud of what comes down the line later.
When all is said and done, most of us can't think of a better way to end our summers than by making a trip, or 3, to the Great Minnesota Get-Together.
There's really nothing like it in the world.
Phones. Really? A lot of phones from the women's bathroom.
What is your background?
And a lot of wallets. A lot of times people come back for the wallets and phones, but they get left a lot too, so.
My first year, somebody lost their teeth. They called to see if any teeth had been turned in. And I asked, how would I know whose teeth they were? I don't know if that's common or not to lose your teeth. And she said that her name was on the inside of the teeth. I had to ask my boss to look, and I didn't want to look at the teeth. They were hers. We had a match.
It's black purse, about this big.
Yeah.
It's got a little handle on it and a shoulder strap.
It doesn't look like it, but how long ago was it?
This morning.
It can sometimes take a while for things to make their way down to us. We're open to 11 p.m. and also for 2 weeks after the fair closes, so we'll still be open for 2 weeks after today. What color is the little lizard on it?
Yeah, so it'll probably be next.
We have them.
August.
We sure do.
Before the fair. So you guys
This program is made possible by the state's Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.